My parents raised me to believe in Santa Claus. I know that this is a controversial parenting tactic. Some view it as lying to your children, which results in a permanent distrust from a young age, while others believe it to be a good way of opening your children's minds up to creativity and tradition. I personally do not believe that either decision dictates whether a person is a good parent or a bad one. It is far more complex than that, with more than one factor determining it. For example, my parents were good people who made a decision that ended in a bad outcome. My parents were known as kind and trusting people who saw the good in everyone. They were the type of people that would spend their weekends volunteering at soup kitchens or driving around giving homeless people food and money. They were the type of people that would let their neighbors borrow their things and not worry that they wouldn't get them back. They would carpool neighborhood kids to school and offer to babysit if the parents needed a night out. My parents were loved by everyone in town. Now that you've got the picture about the type of people they were, I will tell you how such a perfect couple came to make a decision that resulted in a terrible, life-changing outcome. It was the evening of Christmas Eve. Snow was falling. The scent of apple cinnamon filled our home. The fireplace crackled as the flames danced along to the melodic tunes of Christmas classics. Our Christmas tree was decorated with family arts and crafts, and underneath it was a modest amount of gifts, with room for the ones that Santa Claus would soon bring. The night was a picture-perfect replica of how it always was each year. My parents put me to bed around 8:30 after our Christmas movie had finished. I fell asleep with ease, hoping to wake up to the smell of my mother's Christmas pancakes. However, I was instead awoken to the sound of footsteps in the living room. I checked the clock next to my bed. That showed that the time was 3 o'clock in the morning. I quietly got out of bed to see if I could sneak a peek at who I assumed was Santa Claus, rustling about our living room. I knew my parents wouldn't approve, but I was overcome with curiosity. I needed to know if he was as magical in person as he was in movies and books. I managed to soundlessly open my bedroom door and silently creep down the hallway to the living room. And to my surprise, there he was, dressed in a velvet red suit lined with white fur, a large leather black belt around his large waist, white satin gloves dressing his hands, and black snow boots that tracked melting snow into the house. Next to him was a large velvet red sack, from where he pulled presents out and placed them under our tree. I stood unable to move, completely astonished that he was real, and as magical as I hoped. When suddenly, I saw my mom and dad emerge from the kitchen. My father attempted a surprise attack on Santa Claus by charging at him from behind with a knife. But Santa was quicker. He spun around and grabbed my dad's wrist holding the knife, while jabbing my father in the stomach with his other fist. My father released the knife as he keeled forward, winded from the blow to his stomach. Santa was about to take the knife and stab my father in the back, but my mother lunged her body in front of my father, receiving a jab straight to the heart. Santa pulled the knife from her body as it fell back lifeless to the floor. My father looked at my mother, who was now lying next to him bleeding her heart out. Just as he was standing up to attack Santa again, the knife was plunged into his heart too. My father fell to the floor, landing directly next to my mother. Santa's once white satin gloves were now stained red with the blood of my parents. I now stood unable to move because I couldn't believe that Santa had killed my parents. Suddenly he no longer looked magical. Aside from all the blood on him now, his suit was stained and dirty. His black boots had holes in the front where his toes poked through, and his face was covered in a dirty off-white beard. He wasn't the real Santa Claus. Before I could run to my room to hide, I saw Santa pull a cell phone out of his pocket, and I heard him talking to a 911 dispatcher. He explained that there was an accident at our address, and he needed an ambulance. We both remained frozen where we stood until the police arrived. Imposter Santa told the police that he was homeless and met my parents when they were volunteering at the soup kitchen. They had hired him to be Santa Claus to surprise me, but when he was doing what they hired him to do, they attacked him with a knife. Of course, the local police didn't believe him because they knew my parents, so they arrested the fake Santa for murdering them. My parents had lost their lives because they made a huge naive mistake. They underestimated the strength of who they thought was weak, easy prey.